My name is Allegra, and I'm a housewife. My husband Ryan works in a different city. He only talks to me once a week, and it frustrates me. I understand that he's busy with work, but still it's too little. Is it like that for other families? Ryan is a regular office worker, so I'm sure he carries his phone with him at all times. I don't know if he's exhausted from work, or if I'm simply being ignored. I wouldn't mind it if he came more often, but he hasn't been home in 6 months, and I have no idea when he would be coming home next. I don't know when I'll see him again, and I haven't heard from him, which only makes me more anxious. I don't know if he's doing well, and I am worried about him all the time. I was sad to hear he had to move away for his job, but I wanted to support his career. At first I thought about going with him, but Ryan told me, "I need you to stay here, Allegra. I'll be swamped with work, so it would be better for me to be alone. I'll try to come back regularly, so you can go back to living with your parents." So I did as Ryan asked. Ryan has a harsh way with words, but I've gotten used to it. Looking back, I realized that it may have been a cold remark, but it would have been better for me if I had said what I wanted clearly. It would have been better than Ryan acting so coldly towards me. When Ryan gets busy at work, his attitude becomes even colder than usual due to stress. I thought I may cause him more stress if I went with him, so I decided to wait for him here. However, I wasn't expecting to hear so little from him. He told me that he would come home regularly, but he has not kept his word. I don't regret sending off Ryan, but I do feel neglected and lonely. I've only been thinking about Ryan's feelings and hiding my own feelings from him. From now on, I'll try to be honest and tell him how I feel. A few days later, I texted Ryan. "I know you're probably busy with work. I'd appreciate it if you could contact me just once a day. At the very least, I'd like to know if you're doing well. I'm worried if you don't talk to me at all. I feel like I'm being belittled and I miss you." I sent this text. I feel a little better now that I told him honestly. Ryan's reply was something I never expected. "If you know it's work, don't rush me like that. I'm at work every day and it's rough. If you're stressed out from waiting for a reply, then don't contact me anymore. I'll only contact you when I need you." Ryan's cold response shattered my delicate heart. I thought it was wrong to tell him not to contact me just because he's having a hard time at work. I was getting more and more angry at Ryan. I thought it would be foolish to spend any more time grieving. I don't like the idea of doing what Ryan tells me to do, but it is better than thinking about him too much and being in pain. I've been thinking about it over and over, and I feel like he's been treating me too harshly. It's hard, but I've decided to leave it alone for a while. Now I have no choice but to try not to care. I thought there was no way to alleviate this frustration. After observing the situation for a while and trying desperately to understand Ryan, I received a call from someone, but it wasn't Ryan. It was Tony, Ryan's colleague. I had met him several times at company parties, which were open to family members as well. Tony contacted me out of the blue and said, "Have you seen Ryan lately?" I told him that not only have I not seen him, but I haven't even heard from him. "Then you might want to keep an eye on Ryan's behavior," is what Tony said to me. I had no idea what he meant. I asked him why he thought that. Actually, I went to Ryan's assignment for work. Ryan was off work that day. I thought it was strange that he would take the day off on a weekday. I saw him walking with a woman near the office. I thought maybe you were there, but the vibe was different, so I thought it was weird. I knew it was someone else. That's what she said. He said he was busy, but he was taking the day off and with a woman. I was so surprised that I doubted Tony's words. I checked to make sure it was really him. I got pretty close to him, and I'm sure it was him. But I didn't talk to him because he was being so intimate with the woman. I felt like I saw something I shouldn't have. I wasn't sure if I should call you, but I thought I should let you know. Tony said that and apologized for some reason, even when Tony didn't do anything wrong. I did not check with Ryan, so I don't know if that's really the truth. Anyway, I was puzzled by the situation that I had to suspect Ryan. I was trying to reduce my stress by not keeping in touch with him, but after hearing this, I can't just let it go like this. I decided to storm into his office without telling Ryan. It is possible that the woman is just a business associate, but I'm also concerned about the level of intimacy. I can't allow him to pretend to be busy at work and then behind my back take time off to spend time with another woman. I need to get some clarity here. I myself will be crushed by anxiety. Honestly, I hope Tony is wrong about all of this. If he isn't, I think I will decide to get a divorce. I really don't understand what goes on in the mind of a cheater. No matter how much I love them, I am rapidly growing tired of them. This has happened to me in the past. I lost all affection for the man I was dating at the time. Divorce is not an easy thing to do. I'm not going to waste my time when I've been betrayed. Besides, I'm not going to waste my time worrying about him like this. If he had cheated on me behind my back, there is no way I could forgive him. I just hope that I am still mistaken. If he is really cheating on me, I'm going to take appropriate action. I'm going to take the divorce papers with me. I then stormed over to Ryan's place with the divorce papers. I went to Ryan's temporary housing, and coincidentally, Ryan was back from work. However, something unexpected happened. A woman I didn't know came out of Ryan's front door. "Yes, who is it?" She asked me that. To this woman I said, "His wife." The woman's face became a little frightened. "Your wife is here," she says as she left the door. Then, when there was no sign of her coming back, I took the liberty of entering the house. I opened the living room door, was again confronted with an astonishing sight. The woman and Ryan were arm in arm talking happily. The proof that they were having an affair was right in front of my eyes. I tried to calm my anger as much as possible, waved my hands at Ryan and smiled. "I'm here." So what's this?" I asked him. Ryan didn't seem to be in any hurry. "What the hell? I didn't know you were coming." That's how he put it. "Because we don't talk. You said you were too busy with work. I came to see you so we could talk all the time." When I said that, Ryan said, "But you should have at least called me before you came." He didn't seem to be bothered and kept messing with the woman the whole time. I was so uncomfortable that I didn't even want to talk to him. "I've come all this way, but it looks like you're in the middle of something. I'm in your way, so I'm going to leave now. But first, would you sign the divorce papers?" With that, I handed Ryan the divorce papers that I had brought with me. Then, for the first time, my husband made an excuse. "This woman is like a secretary to me. You know it's part of my job to build trust, don't you? So I don't know what you're getting at. I don't have any intention to divorce you." That being said, I told him that I had been contacted by a coworker without mentioning Tony's name. "It's not just work between us, is it? You went out of your way to get paid to spend time together, right? I'm not going to listen to your excuses, so let's just get divorced." When I said that, Ryan said, "What, someone told you?" "Okay, I admit it, but I was stressed out, so I just made a woman over here to play with. That's enough. Just forgive me." I was rapidly growing tired of Ryan's attitude. I was actually thinking of just getting a divorce and calling it a day. But when he reopened the matter like this, my anger naturally increased, and I was determined to get back at him. "Anyway, we're getting divorced. Why don't you have as many mistresses as you want?" After saying this, I pushed the divorce papers at him even harder. "I'd be happy to fill it out for you if you insist. You're not going to submit it anyway, are you? You love me, right, Allegra? Are you sure you really want me to fill it out? If you do that, it's just going to hurt you even more." After he looked down and laughed at me, I truly despised him for the first time. It was the moment I realized that we could no longer be a couple. When I stubbornly refused to change my opinion, Ryan really did fill out the divorce papers. "Look, I filled it out, but I know you can't submit them. Maybe you were shocked to see this scene, but you know that all husbands are like this when they're working in a different city, right?" Every wife in the world pretends they don't see it. And yet no. You're not a good wife if you can't accept your husband's time to relax. In the face of Ryan's selfish quibbling, I was dismayed, and I grabbed the divorce papers and assured him, I'll file these divorce papers on my way home. Also, I'm going to charge you alimony, and to the lady there, of course, and I'm going to report you to your company. Ryan probably panicked hearing this, and suddenly he became angry. I'm not giving you any money. I'm not going to pay you alimony, and I'm not going to give you a share of the property. And if you report me to the company, I'll make sure I get even with you. He threatened me with these words, but I didn't give in. I'm not going to change my mind about what I'm going to do, even if you're intimidating me like that. Why don't you regret making fun of me at best? Goodbye. With that, I quickly walked out of the house. Ryan did not come after me. I really intend to charge him alimony and contact the company. I can't stand being treated like a fool like this. If I'm getting a divorce, I really want to fight back against that man. I left Ryan behind and went back to my parents' house. I successfully filed for divorce and hired a lawyer to file for alimony. It seems that Ryan was notified as well, and I received a message like this. You really divorced me and notified the company. I got a call from my manager today, and when I went back there, I was suddenly told that I'd be demoted. I'm going to be transferred to a different department next month. When I asked him why, he said I should already know. They said they won't give a big job to someone they don't trust. When I read this, I couldn't help but laugh at the consequences of Ryan's actions. As I ignored him, Ryan continued to contact me. If I get demoted, I won't even be able to pay you alimony. I'll be sent to a department I've never heard of, and I won't be able to move up in the company. I should have apologized to you back then, if I knew this was going to happen. So let me apologize now. I'm so sorry. Please call the company again. Tell them it was a lie. He apologized to me desperately like this, but it's too late to say anything now, and I have no intention of forgiving him at all. But I just wanted to say one thing. I don't need such a light apology now. No matter where you get transferred to, I'll make sure you pay my fee. That's how you take responsibility for what you did to me. If you want to apologize, that's how you do it. Ryan seemed to realize for the first time that I wasn't still in love with him. This made him really panic. I didn't think you'd actually submit the divorce papers. I really regret that it turned out like this. If I could go back, I would do anything, and of course, I'll never cheat on you again. Please, I'm sorry I disrespected you. Just give me one more chance. Ryan was more desperate than I've ever seen him, but I said no once and for all. I feel sorry for him if I get his hopes up, so I'm going to make this very clear. You know, I'm the kind of person who won't tolerate cheating. You'll never get another chance. If you want to get ahead, why don't you start from scratch and earn my trust again? It won't be easy though. That's how I responded. Ryan kept calling, but I had nothing more to say to him, so I ignored all of them. Eventually, he came to my parents' house and got down on his knees in front of the house. I am so sorry. I will never betray you again. Please call the company and start over with me. That's what he said to me. I was very surprised, but I did not let my feelings get the better of me. I was just annoyed that he would do such a thing in front of my parents' house. I asked my father to send him away. If you stay, I'll call the police, my father yelled at him, and Ryan left with a disappointed look on his face. I didn't feel sorry for him. In fact, I felt great comfort in seeing him suffering. I didn't feel sorry for Ryan because he didn't seem to feel any remorse for what he had done. I don't have any sympathy for him. I'm glad I don't have to waste my time on a man like him anymore. I'm relieved that I was able to get a divorce, so the payback was successful. All I have to do now is wait for the alimony from Ryan and his girlfriend. Ryan will regret his actions and live in humiliation after this.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job. Having joined the company wanting to do customer service. "I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime," he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. "To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance." As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. "Still here?" Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. "I'm leaving." I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick, what's wrong?" Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was. As the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike, what have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. I didn't do anything wrong. You're still saying that? Look at him. Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract? Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go. Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him. There's no way he was pushed aside. Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he? I don't remember that part. I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, One had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.